Something crazy is happening in Venezuela right now. Thousands of regular people, like office workers, housewives, and even retirees, are signing up to join the civilian militia. They're actually willing to wait in line for hours just to defend their country because they're convinced that a US invasion is becoming a real possibility. This all started after President Nicolás Maduro called for a national mobilization to face what he called a ridiculous and extraordinary threat. In a TV speech, he urged every patriot to join the Bolivarian militia, which is basically an armed civilian force trained to back up the regular army. This didn't just come out of nowhere, though. Things have been getting pretty tense lately. US warships have been spotted in the Caribbean, and fighter jets have been running drills right near Venezuelan airspace. There have even been reports of drone strikes on the coast. Washington says they're just there to fight drug cartels, but Caracas isn't buying it. They think it's just an excuse to topple Maduro's government. This whole drama goes back decades. Ever since Hugo Chavez took over in 1999, Venezuela has been on this Bolivarian revolution path, basically a brand of Latin American socialism that's super anti-imperialist and stands up to US dominance. Chavez nationalized the oil industry and used the cash for social programs, while constantly poking the bear when it came to US foreign policy. Oil is the real heart of the conflict, because Venezuela has the biggest reserves in the world. When Chavez kicked out foreign oil companies, including American ones, and started selling to China and India instead, it definitely rubbed Washington the wrong way. Ideologically, Chavez saw himself as the next Simón Bolívar, fighting for a Latin America that can stand on its own feet without outside interference. And honestly, they have reasons to be suspicious, considering the long history of the US getting involved in coups, places like Cuba, Chile, and Nicaragua throughout the 20th century. From a security standpoint, Washington is pretty stressed out because Venezuela is best friends with America's biggest rivals, Russia, China, and Iran. Back in the day, Chavez started buying high-tech weapons from Russia, which made the US see the regime as a total thorn in their side, right in their own backyard. To the US, having Russian or Iranian influence so close to home is seen as a huge threat to national security. It's not just about politics or foreign influence. Drugs and corruption are actually the main reasons why this whole conflict is blowing up. For years, the US has been accusing high-ranking Venezuelan officials and the military of being part of an international drug ring called the Cartel de los Soles, or Cartel of the Suns. Washington basically claims the Maduro regime has turned into a narco-state, where the political and military elite are making a killing from smuggling illegal drugs. These accusations got real serious in 2020 when the US Department of Justice officially charged Maduro with narco-terrorism conspiracy. America's excuse was simple. They weren't just doing it for democracy, but to protect their own citizens from a flood of cocaine allegedly masterminded by Caracas. For the US, this gave them the moral high ground to keep squeezing the regime. So the root of the problem is this messy mix of socialist ideology, oil control, teaming up with US enemies, and straight-up illegal activity. Things entered a much more aggressive phase after the 2024 US election when Donald Trump got back in power. Trump, who's always been hardcore against Maduro, went way beyond just economic sanctions. By mid-2025, signs of a military escalation were everywhere. The turning point was August 2025, when the US doubled the bounty for Maduro's capture to $50 million and parked 3 warships near Venezuelan coast, claiming it was an anti-drug operation. Maduro didn't back down, though. He immediately called for a massive militia mobilization. They set up registration centers everywhere, from city squares to the presidential palace. Thousands of volunteers signed up in just one weekend to send a clear message to Washington. Venezuela is ready to fight back if you actually attack. the situation hit a breaking point in October 2025 after a series of mysterious attacks on ships in the Caribbean. The U.S. claimed they were carrying cocaine, but Caracas accused the U.S. of just bombing randomly near their territory. As a last-ditch diplomatic move, on October 9, 2025, Venezuela sent a letter to the UN Security Council asking for an emergency meeting, warning the world that a military strike from the Trump administration could happen any day now. Back in November 2025, things in the Caribbean got super tense. The U.S. decided to flex its muscles by sending over its massive aircraft carrier, along with a full strike group of destroyers and thousands of Marines. The Pentagon tried to play it cool, calling the whole thing a routine patrol, but Maduro wasn't buying it. To him, it looked like a clear setup for war. On November 11th, he fired back by launching huge national war games, practicing how to fight off beach landings, and even training for urban guerrilla warfare. Maduro even showed up in full military gear, swearing that no empire would ever set foot on Venezuelan soil. The breaking point happened on November 10th, when U.S. Special Forces intercepted an oil tanker called the Skipper, just off the coast. It was like something straight out of an action movie. U.S. soldiers fast roping from helicopters to take control of the ship. Washington claimed the tanker was smuggling oil and breaking international sanctions. The next day, the White House announced they were seizing the ship and towing it to a U.S. port, a move Caracas straight up called international piracy. This whole mess triggered a huge backlash from Venezuela's buddies. Putin hopped on the phone with Maduro to show support, while Cuba and Iran slammed the U.S. for the move. But instead of backing down, the U.S. doubled down. On December 16, 2025, President Trump announced a total naval blockade. Basically, any tanker coming in or out of Venezuela suspected of breaking sanctions was now a target. This was total economic warfare, and it instantly crippled Venezuela's oil exports by 90%. Because of the blockade, the economy went into a tailspin, gas lines stretched for miles, and the bolivar's value completely crashed. Maduro called it the absolute lowest point of American aggression. Then, just after Christmas, things got even crazier. During a radio interview, Trump casually dropped a bombshell, admitting that the U.S. had actually struck a target on Venezuelan land that they suspected was being used for drug trafficking. That admission changed everything. It signaled that U.S. military ops weren't just staying out at sea anymore. They were officially crossing into Venezuelan territory. Even though the U.S. framed it as a war on drugs, analysts see it as a major warning sign that this whole thing could explode into a full-blown war.